Hello, Internet. Welcome back to the Fast Travel Lounge. You're listening to episode 43. My name is Patrick. I'm joined by full gang, Seth, Steve, and Josh. Say hi, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Major discovery alert. Major discovery alert. Ding, 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 ding. As you're all probably well aware, the Pokemon Company is releasing a new game, and they've released a new Pokemon.
It's sperm.
Well, the picture that I showed you before we started recording, that was one picture. Let me put in a funnier picture that was terrible for audio form, but it's still funny.
Oh wow, this is a horrible Pokemon design.
I like it.
Also,
I like it a lot.
fuck off doing another region variant of Diglett.
It's not a region variant of Diglett, though. It's actually a new Pokemon.
It's actually a new Pokemon?
Allegedly. This Pokemon is said to be related to Diglett, but not a Paldean form. It is concluded that it's a new Pokemon. I reckon it's Wiggler from Super Mario Bros.
It does look like a Wiggler.
I reckon it's Wiggler from Monster Hunter.
From Monster Hunter, yeah.
I reckon it's Jigglypuff seen from above.
I think that it's just a submarine, and that's the top of it.
I reckon it's a Wailord penis.
Oh my god. I reckon it's a sperm that came out of a Wailord's penis.
It is reminding me of something very specific, but I cannot name it for the life of me. I'm so sorry.
You cannot, in good conscience, name it on an audio-only podcast. Right.
Yeah, I know that was probably not very good content for an audio-only medium, but...
Go look up the picture. We'll post it on Twitter or whatever our socials are.
If you're at home, you're in front of a computer, Google Diglett Rule 34. You might be able to come up with a new one.
How did I know?
Diglett deflation.
How did I know? We schmixed up the format a little bit last week. We're coming back with another little formatting update. We'll see how this one goes. This one almost harkening back to a couple of episodes we did a while ago, where we have sort of like a large prevailing topic for this one. Topic for this one will be time loop mechanics in games. Should be interesting. Most of the time will be spent on that. But, of course, before we get to that, we have an album of the week to go through, sponsored by Ford Truck Month September, Samsung Smart Fridges, the little truck nuts thing that sit on the back of the Ford that you got at Ford Truck Month, and
my
Krispy
Apple
Kreme.
Watch.
And don't forget
not your Apple
September.
Watch. Yeah, no, this will be the last September episode. How do you feel about that, Steve?
Look,
It's not even going to come out during September.
I hate walking so much. Oh, God. I just want to sit inside and play video games and...
He's going to turn into a Paldean Diglett.
No legs, all right, based.
He's gonna make a bunch of them at home too.
Oh, God.
Yeah, look, it's funny for the first week, and then after it, it's like, legs hurt, I want to sit inside and play video games. Then it's like, whoop, nope, I've only gotten 2 steps today, better go outside. But no, it'll be over. I placed 4th in my entire work organization. The winner has over 100,000 more steps than me because
Holy shit.
she does like her...
They don't actually work, they just walk.
She's working while she's walking.
She has like a laptop strap that goes around her neck that just leans on her chest so she can tie it while she's running.
No, it's
that just reminded me
treadmill
of
at the
those.
desk.
It reminded me of those awful like iPad things that sat on people's chests, and no, those are awful. Never again.
I have
What do you
no
mean,
idea what you're talking about,
boobs?
and I don't want to.
My boob joke wasn't funny. Anyway, sorry, Pat, I interrupted.
You did, but it's fine because even though you continue to fall down, you get right back up on that horse. So speaking of horses, Josh, album of the week.
I got
What?
to with a horse. The album of the week is actually an EP this week. It's Slut Pop by Kim Patrick.
What does EP stand for? Hang on, before we get going.
Extended playlist.
Is that...
Yeah.
I thought I was being a smart ass. Never mind, play on.
No.
This was like a 15-minute EP. I tapped out at 2 minutes because, oh my god, that was awful.
That
I
only
tried to
took
make
you
something
finish, eh?
a little different because I feel like I've repeated a couple of genres.
Can you pick something not different in future, or
Different but still good.
I enjoy his music.
It's like diverging axes. You can either pick something that's different or something that's good.
Well, I think it's different and good, but I guess that's my hot take of the week. So it can be described as bubblegum pop, which is interesting. If anyone's ever like walked into a gay club or anything, it's kind of what you'd exactly expect to be playing, which is I think it's
Droney.
great, but oh god.
repetitive
so I guess
nonsense.
who actually listened to any of it? I know Seth listened to 2 minutes and hasn't gotten over it, and he's having a fit. Patrick, I think you said you listened to the entire EP.
Yep, they threatened my family.
What about you, Stephen? You listened to what, the one song?
I listened to the two songs, while we were waiting. Pretty good. I like it, but I'm okay. Well, now you go, Josh.
Okay, fine. Well, can you tell Josh to threaten your family next time then? Because that really wasn't fun for me.
Well, just because you like popular things doesn't make you popular, Pat. Like, you are allowed to sort of go outside the societal norm. You are allowed to do other things sometimes. Maybe just check it out. Check other things out sometimes.
I checked it out and it scared me.
I guess a couple of fun facts about this, just quickly. So Kim Petras is featured on KDA, or as part of KDA, which is the League of Legends K-pop group. She plays Evelyn in it, along with a couple of other people. They kind of mix and match.
Hang on. No, KDA, it's a virtual K-pop group,
It's a virtual K-pop group, but it's still a K-pop group. There's still actual artists singing.
What some might call the gorillas of League of Legends.
The VTubers of the pop world.
That's kind of cool. Gorillas of League of Legends. I like that. Yeah, so this was a surprise EP that was dropped after leaking or /tweet, like teasing tracks on a TikTok of all things, and then dropped the EP after cancelling an album. And although it probably should go without mentioning, I just think it's a very cool fact. They were touted in media as the youngest transsexual, but the only reason I bring that up is that they were playing in Budapest in Hungary. Like, I don't remember exactly what year it was. But yeah, basically they just introduced, like, while she was traveling there, anti-LGBT laws, and she put on a show that was, in quotes, labeled as intentionally raunchy and sex positive, which she was like, that's a great experience for me. I want to do that 10 out of 10. It's like standing in solidarity with the people. So I think that's excellent. And she has a new song,
that's nice and all, but can the music be good?
I think the music is good. She does a cover of Up That Running Up That Hill, Running Up the Hill. I can't remember exactly what the title is. Running Up That Hill. Run Up That Hill. That's actually very good and a bit more probably your speed.
Was her cover of that called "Treat Me Like a Slut," or was that a different song?
No, that was song number 2 on this EP.
Yeah, was that not the cover of "Running Up the Hill"? Because I wanted to run, but nowhere near a hill.
Off a hill.
I would have preferred to go off that cliff.
Running off that cliff. Anyway, so she has a new song with Sam Smith called Unholy, so you should go check that out if you like this kind of music. But that's my something different for this week.
It's cool. I like it, but it is club music.
It is club music, definitely.
And the weird part is, while I listen to the sound of my brain cells dying, and not in the way that they usually do from huffing petrol, this EP sounded almost exactly like it could have been taken out of any of the kind of clubby parts of Saints Row 3.
Yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see that.
You know what? It would have fit in Saints Row 3, and I would have enjoyed it there because it would have been a parody and would have been funny.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is that there's like maybe it was just the copium in my brain going, don't worry, Patrick, you can get through this. It's just Saints Row 3 OST. You can get through this.
And then I could have changed the radio station to some 80s rock instead.
So, Patrick, what was your favorite song on the EP?
Well, I thought about trying to crack some sort of joke. I don't know. There are memorable ones, but I wouldn't call them favorites.
Okay, what are the more memorable ones?
I mean, XXX was interesting because I quite enjoyed the lyrical wordplay of, let me find the lyric. Where are we here? Yeah, I wanna XXXXXXXXXX, which I think really spoke to me when you think about it. I'm pretty sure it's some sort of metaphor for some kind of anti-capitalist message.
I know Seth had a favorite lyric. Do you want to bring that up, Seth?
I guess it had something to do with fucking dads.
Yeah, but what was the lyric, man? We're not talking about your holidays.
I do not partake in the fucking awe of the dads. Thank you very much.
Awe of the dads.
The 2 lines were steal your man kind of shit, fuck your dad kind of shit, and honestly, I just don't want to think about my dad fucking. Thank you very much.
No. You misunderstand. You misunderstand the lyrical depth of that line. She's saying that your dad is kind of shit.
I mean, he is, but still, I don't want to think about him fucking.
My favorite song on the EP is probably "Treat Me Like a Slut" or "Throat Goat," because when it says "throat goat," it does like the voice of a goat, which is pretty great.
Throat Goat's just a good name because it just reminds me of all the memes about Trump and Obama being glizzy gobblers.
Also, Margaret Thatcher. I guess there are a lot of those ones too.
The glizziest gobbler of them all.
I only saw
Look,
as
man,
far
this
as
is the
the Obama
intervention.
versus Trump ones.
The Gluck Gluck 3000 or whatever it was.
I hate this. This is surely a war crime.
Superpower Bitch was also a banger.
It's a crime of some sort. I think we've broken like several Geneva Conventions. Patrick, can we move on?
Let's move on.
Actually, no. Before we move on, we need to go through the mandatory out of 10s for everyone.
Do we?
Do we? Well, I'll go first. Saints Row 3 OST, 7 out of 10. Listening to it at any other point in my life, 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. Ooh.
I will also hit this with a 1 out of 10.
I reckon it's like an 8.
All right, I'd say an 8.
Yeah, actually, yeah, 8.
Yeah, I would say an 8.
Depends.
But what about like seriously though?
No, yeah, like an 8. Maybe 8.5 for me.
No, it's an 8. We don't do half marks here, big fella.
Oh, if I couldn't do halves, I would give it an 8. I don't think it's a 9, but I'd give it an 8.
Right. Well, I don't have a nice segue out of that. That was very painful for me. Into Run the Lunch this week.
Can I make a funny comment?
You can try.
You know what? I don't want to anymore.
I like that Magic just ripped the comment out of you. It's great.
Kalima.
Into Run the Lunch for this week. Let's start with Josh. What are you up to this week?
Not much. Literally just working. For anyone that plays or played WoW, I got a little bit back into Wrath of the Lich King, but only a couple of hours so far.
Hold on.
That's about it.
I had something very important I tweeted out today about not
Wait,
just
he's
World of
shilling
Warcraft, but Blizzard in
He's
general.
shilling his sweets on the podcast, fellas.
I'm not going
hear
to-
that.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to like shill. I won't give my Twitter out, but I believe I said something
Why not?
along the lines of if you're still
His
playing
Twitter
Blizzard
is
games, you
at
deserve
fuck
to
your
be
dad
bullied.
shit. You play. I'm bullied every day. What do you mean? I'm on this podcast. You're bullying me about my music taste like less than fucking 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, and now we're going to bully you about World of Warcraft.
Look, it is the biggest possible nostalgia hit that could be directed into my veins at this point in my life. So I need to give it a go. I don't think there's really any way I wasn't going to give it a go. And it's okay. It's not as good as I remember so far. So we'll see.
What's the subscription prices now? How's it work?
$19 a month, roughly.
Whew.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I guess, like you're having a good time.
If you spend more than 20 hours, it's like $1 an hour of entertainment. So, or at least distraction. So that's okay.
Just
It's not
distraction.
even entertainment at this point, it's just distraction.
Look, ever since Elden Ring finished, all I've the next higher that's coming for me, well, actually was Sunbreak, and then after Sunbreak, it's Pokemon, and that's still coming. So I need something to fill the gap.
And we're
The
close.
void. Right, cool. Steve, what have you been up to this week?
Oh man, where have I been up to? Man, a lot of walking, a lot of steps. But no, I've been playing a bit of Yakuza 5, which I probably won't touch on because I'm still halfway through it, and XCOM 2, which I also will not touch on because I'm very bad at that game. I'm liking it. I'm having a good time, just not having fun.
I'm liking it, I'm not having fun.
XCOM give it to you? Or
Oh,
Ooh,
yes.
pop.
Well, it's
open up
given
the
to me.
door,
It's
it's real.
losing. I'm playing on like
no,
the
it's 2. It's the sequel.
I'm playing it on like the medium difficulty, and I still have to. A lot of saves coming. I don't really feel good about it, but I'm going to be doing it.
You know,
Hey, you gotta do
since
what you
you're
gotta do to
having,
survive.
You got to do what you got to do.
if you're having trouble with XCOM, I can recommend you go to the easier route of Mario and Rabbids. You might have to give up some of your sanity of dealing with Rabbids, but it might be more up your speed.
Hey Patrick, what would be worse, listening to Slut Pop again or playing anything with rabbits in it?
What do you mean? I've played Mario vs. Rabbids, and you know what? brain cells more intact than after slut pop. So,
Good God. The rabbits are just minions of the game world. That's all they are.
What a strange thing to say.
It's true, though.
and you know what? I do play it while I'm in a suit, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'll say it.
2 copies of
rooftop
Mario and
parties?
Rabbids, please.
Chat face.
I have an important business meeting to conduct in the local internet cafe where I play this. Yeah, no, I've played. I haven't finished it, but I played it because I picked it up in Boxing Day sales years ago. Anyway, right, XCOM 2, very good. Thank you for that, Steve. Seth, what have you been up to?
I finally finished Monarch after months of grinding through that game, I guess. And since it's on Disney Plus now, I also watched Thor: Love and Thunder because why not?
Yeah,
I wasn't paying for that.
I did that 2 weeks
You're
ago
not
as well.
paying for it. It's on Disney Plus. You're fucking paying for it.
It's not my Disney Plus account.
Someone's paying for it. Disney's still getting money.
Yeah, but I didn't pay for it. That was the line I said, and I can stick to that.
I'll let it slide this time.
Thanks, man.
What about you,
What have you
Patrick?
been up
What
to,
have you
Pat?
been up to?
Yeah.
Thanks for asking. Other than the trip to the ER, which I'm going to need after finishing this recording, because of based on how it's gone so far and how
What is
Trivia
it?
Like a Slut's still in my head.
I'll drive
is
you
it,
there
yeah?
while playing that EP. Don't worry.
Is ER the sequel to EP?
No, it comes
Extended
after EQ.
remix.
There's two. There's a gap of 2 in there. Anyway,
Is it the second sequel?
Yeah, the second sequel. So much like how Cars 3 is the second sequel for Cars 1. I finished Outer Wilds DLC. Echoes of the Eye. We'll probably talk about that in a
Yeah,
Was
moment.
that a
Wow.
sequel?
It sort of is actually, and we'll get
Is
into that.
DLC a
'Cause that's
sequel?
all
Let's have that discussion.
Let's
like
let's
right
have that
now,
later.
or like
Yeah.
at any other point, because
Let's have it 10 minutes ago.
Okay,
See,
I think
interesting
the
that you'd say
discussion's
that, because
over
that
if it was
sounds-
10 minutes ago.
very much like a time loop mechanic, which we'll get into in another few minutes. But first of all, let's chat Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, context, probably going to do spoilers. I've seen Ragnarok, haven't seen Love and Thunder, and don't really care to see it based on how everyone I've heard about going and seeing it all saying the same thing of it not being very good.
I mean, that's fair.
No, it's not very good. No, it's not very good.
I think it's very middle of the road. I don't think it's awful, but I don't think it's great either. Maybe that's just because I've been having months of people saying it's awful that I expected much worse for it. But I thought it was just kind of an average Marvel movie. Nothing you'd write home about like some of the better ones. But
No.
it doesn't hit the loads of like Thor 2.
Do you want my opinion on it?
It's a Marvel movie and it's shit.
No,
Trying to
no.
remember
Okay,
when I
so
asked.
I haven't seen the movie, but based on the title, it's like a 1 out of 10. What a shit title.
He obviously hasn't seen the movie because the title is very
It makes sense by the end of the movie.
What
Love and
would you have
Thunder.
called it instead, Josh?
I would have called it, I don't know, Marvel's latest
Thor-
shield. Please give us
Thor-
money.
Thor the Throat Goat.
I'd just call it Chris Hemsworth. People would still watch it.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not even Thor.
Actually,
People just call him Chris at this point.
Actually, I don't think that's right because I'm pretty sure the Men in Black movie and the Ghostbusters movie he was in both flopped badly.
I'll just call it Magic Mike 2.
Magic Mike 2.
People will actually go and watch that one. Put Ryan Reynolds in it for good fun.
And
Right,
Brad
your
Pitt,
fun
but
is
only if he's
twisted.
playing someone invisible.
Pikachu.
Anyway,
right.
Yeah,
I guess-
yeah.
do you want to go into your negatives first, Steve, or should I go into my positives?
Look, yeah, let's start at the bottom.
Now we hear.
Yeah, now we are here. It seems like one of those movies. Actually, no. Let's back up a bit. So this is directed by Taika Waititi.
Yep.
And I don't know what any of your guys' opinions are about sheep on the podcast, but but he's a New Zealand director, and he's usually pretty good. He always makes sure he's usually pretty good.
As if being a New Zealand director is a metric of being good or bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, he has to overcome quite a few hurdles to be a director in New Zealand.
Like Patrick's 48-hour film festival movie.
True. Some
it's-
do call me the Peter Jackson of my generation, so it's understandable to make that comparison.
I do
Really.
that. But yeah, anyway, the movies. It makes a joke out of the Thor character, I think, in a way that does a disservice to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for whatever that is. It makes a joke out of his character. It makes him seem like as if he's never serious or that he's like bad at being a hero. Like it does a big spoiler alert. It does sort of turn around, and by the end of the movie, he's like a good hero, and he does save the day, of course. And then everybody shakes hands and claps and smacks each other's back, and it's like, yeah, right, another job well done. But it's just not showing Thor in like that superhero light. There's no real cool action moments. Every time there's like an action scene or something, Thor just seems to get his ass handed to him. It's making him into like a joke of a character. Like there's a big theme throughout the whole movie of he's got that big axe Stormbreaker, and Mjolnir's chosen his old girlfriend from Thor 1 and 2 as like the new Thor type of thing. And there's this weird type of subplot where he's sort of like mega jealous that Mjolnir took her, but then Stormbreaker, his axe, is jealous of Thor.
I think that's kind of cute
Mjolnir.
and funny.
It's funny for about like the first 2 times they do it. They've literally made it a reoccurring joke to the point it's like, okay, this isn't funny.
I feel like
anymore.
they only did it like 3 times.
That's like 2 times too many. And then he starts like talking, and then he starts like, okay, that it'd be sort of funny if he mentions it once or twice, but then he like talks to the axe and he's like, oh no, don't worry about it. Mjolnir's like an old girl. The way he talks about it makes it seem like Mjolnir's an old girlfriend and the axe is a new girlfriend, despite them being like inanimate objects or like. Yeah, it's just
I think that's a
weird.
very, very like. I feel like people like kind of do that with like ships and cars and stuff where they're like, oh, she's a beaut sort of thing and so on.
Yeah,
and
but personification of objects, don't care about that. It's the fact that the object is personified in a way to have bad human characteristics like jealousy or envy. In an object that isn't really seen as sentient, like as an axe. It's there to chop people off. And it was created from like the forge of a dying star or whatever it was. It's literally created to fucking chop heads off. He chops Thanos' head off with it. It's really cool, and it hasn't been a personality. And then all of a sudden in the movie, it's got a weird, jealous personality. I know personality is probably a strong word, but it's weird and it doesn't hit and it's not funny.
I can see that. I thought it landed and it was kind of funny, and when it did happen, it was infrequent enough that it didn't get stale. Unlike the fucking goats joke, the screaming goats. In saying
that was pretty shit.
In saying that I think they did that enough where it rolled back around to being funny to me, because they overplayed it at the beginning, where by the end of their introduction I was like, okay, I get it, they're screaming goats. It's not funny anymore. But then they start putting them into situations where they're just coming out of nowhere and starting to scream, and I don't know, it just broke me at a certain point. I think it's when they broke into like Zeus's domain is when I started going, okay, you know what, it's actually kind of funny again. Which
it does sort of it does come around to that goat joke, but I think that's
Yeah, going off Zeus though, my big complaint about the movie is that I feel like it underutilizes characters a lot. It's probably also because, hey, these are actors and they have their own contracts and they probably didn't sign off for more than one movie. Jane Foster is brought in for this movie. She's the Mighty Thor. She's a big thing in the comics for a little while now, and she gets her story arc and then dies at the end of the movie, and I feel like that's a wasted opportunity. Then
so I think it's important we discuss from how she dies as well. It's not, she doesn't die in battle. She dies from cancer, and that's
she's slowly dying of cancer throughout the entire movie, and Mjolnir is kind of healing her, but also draining her life at the same time. Like
it gives her powers for battle.
Yeah, when she's being the Mighty Thor, she's hardy and healthy, but whenever she's not in battle, she's literally getting the life force drained out of her by using the hammer.
Yeah, and I think that would have been such a very good theme to have go throughout the movie. In their defense, which this is probably the only defense you'll hear with this movie, they do treat that every interaction with her, where it's her having cancer, they treat that really seriously.
Oh yeah, no, they treat that very seriously and give it the levity it needs.
But that is like what 4% of the movie, and the rest of the movie is just someone says a line, there's a punchline, everyone expects you to laugh. Like it almost seems like there's a laugh track missing in this movie.
Yeah, it's like they wanted to hit.
Ragnarok
was a very funny movie, and it landed every joke it did. And then it's like Marvel kind of. It feels like Marvel kind of dictated, do Ragnarok again, try to make it funnier than the last one.
But Ragnarok wasn't making jokes all the time. It was like
it's like
which obviously they didn't. They were like, oh, there was heaps of funny moments in Ragnarok. Let's make every moment funny in this one. Like it almost seems like they were trying to like every line or interaction had to have a funny part. There was no seriousness unless it was Jane with her cancer, and I thought that was just.
The reason I point to Marvel as like maybe the deciding factor in this is because when the movie was coming out, I believe both Chris Hemsworth and Taika Waititi were saying like they felt that not that the movie was bad because that'd be bad press, but that they felt unfulfilled making the movie.
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah.
And also on wasted opportunities, they get Christian Bale to play the villain, and the few scenes where he gets to really do his thing, he's fantastic in the movie. But that is like 5 minutes of a 90-minute movie. He is severely underutilized in this.
Yeah, and Christian Bale is very good in that movie.
He is. He's one of the shining points of the movie. Yeah, I guess like we've been banging on about the negativities so much. It's like, well, what did you enjoy about the movie? It's just like, I don't know. It was fine. I was expecting worse kind of thing. It's not something I'm going to like really dig in and want to go back to watch, but it's kind of like if it was on in the background while something else was going on, I wouldn't change the channel.
I would. Because me and my partner probably got about like halfway through it, and she was like, "This isn't a good movie. I'm done." And I'm like, "Well, I
paid to get in."
Well, not really. It's on someone else's Disney Plus account as well.
Oh.
Shout out to Tom. Thanks, big fella. Appreciate it. You will be not for this movie, but like we got halfway through it, and she's like, "You know what? This isn't funny. I'm just gonna call it." And I'm like, "You know what? That's fair. I am legally required to finish the movie because if I don't, the FBI is going to kick in my house and be like, hey, you've only seen half of that movie." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, sir. Please don't throw me in jail." And then I get sent to Guantanamo Bay.
Guantanamo even from Australia.
Yeah, I'm not even being dramatic. That's exactly what happened in my mind. Always finish you.
It's all because you didn't finish the content for the podcast.
I've started something. I've got to finish it, right? But yeah, I honestly do not like this movie at all.
Yeah, I can get it. I don't know.
Fuck you. You have different tastes to me. Hate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely
Yeah,
not. You have different tastes from me. You enjoy it. And by enjoy it, I mean, think it's mid. Think it's like perfectly middle of the road. It's not offensive, but it's not great either.
What about you, Pat? You're a certified kinographer, as they say in the business.
That's true. My special ability is keen eye, where I cannot have my accuracy lowered despite me being fucking blind as shit day to day. Anyway,
Compound eyes too.
Hey, yeah, there we go.
Hey, Ben and that bros, check in.
Hey.
I don't really have too many. The main prevailing thing that I've seen with this is that from the first trailer and from the themes that it seemed like it was trying to play with, everyone was expecting this big rock and roll, almost kind of rock opera type, like legendary story.
And it kind of starts that way and then drops that almost immediately.
Yeah, it does,
and that's the biggest problem with it, where what it set up based on what we were led to believe with the trailers and what we got was kind of like an attempt at Ragnarok 2, but it didn't do Ragnarok 2 that well, and it didn't do big 80s rock opera that well, so it's just kind of left, as you say, sort of middling on its own. And yeah, I don't know. It was one that I was going to go see in cinemas just because of how much I liked Ragnarok, because I saw that in cinemas and
I'm really glad I didn't watch this in cinemas.
Yeah,
I feel like it would have been a waste of money to go see it there. I'm glad I waited
that's the
for
prevailing
Disney Plus.
taste. Yeah. So I imagine I'll see it at some point, but I'm in no rush, and I don't really have too many thoughts on it other than it's a shame. Anything else you want to add to that, or you want to give it a score out of 10 and we move on?
I'm comfortable
3
with
out of
giving
10.
score. I go 6.
6 isn't mid.
6 is like little higher than mid. Like 5 is barely acceptable.
Six is I would recommend someone watch it if I thought they might like it.
Yeah, exactly. And I honestly I don't think anyone else here would enjoy it, so that's why I'm not recommending it.
But you still gave it a 6.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was like,
I'll
wait,
find
what?
someone to recommend it to.
You know what? That's it. Your homework for this week, Seth, is to write out.
Is to find a fan, find a listener, and be like, hey, go watch Thor: Love and Thunder.
No, I was going to say write a definition guide of a glossary, if you would, of what exactly your
A
ratings
Hitchhiker's
mean.
Guide to the Galaxy, if you will.
I haven't seen that
I would
movie
not. I will not.
Well, like it's not your homework, Pat. It's Seth's.
Okay, so 5 is like
No,
barely
it's your homework, big
acceptable.
fella. You know, it's your homework.
6
Present your next
is
class.
6 is it's fine. 7 is good.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because with a subscription to our sponsor Chegg, you can actually study for that homework right now.
What on earth is Chegg?
Chegg. What the fuck is Chegg?
Wait, do you guys actually know what Chegg is?
I
do
don't
not.
know what Chegg is, no.
Holy shit! How? Okay, I'm confused as to how I know it, but you guys don't. It's I've never used it. YouTube decided to serve me ads for it for all of like a week or two. It's some kind of academic studying. The whole thing is study with Chegg and you'll pass your exam. So I just assume it's some kind of educational tool. But
Right, so
All right,
they can send
yeah,
us the check in the mail. All right.
joke fell flat on its face. Really thought that more people would know Chegg. Anyway, oh well.
I know Chug.
Hey, shooey.
I think we move on.
Yeah, it's probably for the best, man.
Yeah, cool. Well, that means we get to move into the meat. The meat and potatoes, if you will, of this
I do
episode.
not. Thank you.
Speaking of potatoes,
Our
so
special guest is Peter Dutton. No.
so time looping in games is an interesting mechanic. There are quite a few games, even recent ones like Deathloop, which we've spoken about a little bit recently, which, funnily enough, actually feature loop in its name. I think we all agree that a time loop game is basically something where the expectation is that you repeat the same processes with the idea of building out your knowledge or interactions with a particular story, where the repetition is part of the process. What I think is interesting is that there's still a distinction in my mind between something that has a time loop mechanic and something that I guess would be like a Metroidvania, because I don't think we'd consider Hades to be a time loop game, would we?
No.
No.
Well, that's just the nature of, that's probably the nature of roguelikes and roguelites themselves. Like, their concept is a gameplay loop as opposed to a time loop.
Yeah, but I find that interesting though, because something like
Time loop is more of a narrative element rather than a gameplay element.
Yeah,
But it can
actually,
serve as
that's
both.
probably the easiest way to summarize it, because I look at something like Outer Wilds, where you have a 22-minute cycle and then the sun explodes and you die no matter what you're doing. But then something like Deathloop, you're actually under no pressure in terms of, like, there's no temporal pressure. You just play through different phases of, like, times of day of a particular gameplay setting. But yeah, you're right. The way that it draws into the narrative is definitely the way to describe it. So with that in mind, I guess I'll contribute first. I just want to touch quickly on Echoes of the Eye, the DLC for Outer Wilds that came out a few years ago now. Topical in that Outer Wilds is either coming out or has just been recently released. I don't quite know which one. On Nintendo Switch, which is good. More people that play Outer Wilds, the better. Outer Wilds, as I said, has the 22-minute loop where no matter what you're doing, you die. Echoes of the Eye is interesting in that you go to a DLC world, let's say. So Outer Wilds, you explore a solar
kind of
system.
like every Souls game DLC.
Maybe. I'm actually not super familiar with Souls game DLC, but sure. But there's a couple interesting points that I want to hit. Outer Wilds, part of the time loop mechanic is it's so broad that you get to choose how you want to spend the 22 minutes of life that you've been given, and you have an entire solar system to explore. Echoes of the IDLC funnels you directly into a single place where you will spend all of your time if you want to do the DLC. And it would actually be very difficult if you wanted to play Outer Wilds and the DLC at the same time. It seems like it's very much structured almost to be a standalone game. But what's interesting about that is that it has all of the same mechanics as the base game of you have 22 minutes, you start on Timber Hearth, you have to fly to the DLC world and do all the narrative bits and pieces there. Overall, the experience of Echoes of the Eye for me was very good. The problem is it's very templatey, and I think this is one of the big problems that time loop games can get into, and I'm curious to get the group's thoughts, because Outer Wilds, the base game, you have 22 minutes and you have a bunch of different planets, so you could spend a couple loops on one or two planets, and then when that's finished, you can go and do something narratively very different on another planet. But the problem that I had with Echoes of the Eye is that there's sort of three, missions, stories kind of thing. You can call it what you want, in the DLC world. But the problem is they are templates of each other. They are just in different locations. So what I mean is you will land on the Echoes of the Eye world, and you will go exploring, and you will find 3 little hubs of activity. And at each of the hubs, there'll be a slide reel with some lore. And in each of the 3 hubs, there will be a couple things to discover, like the same thing in each place. There'll be a story piece that you have to go and do. You see what I mean by template? It's very like, whatever you do at this one, you will have to do in a different location, but the same steps for areas 2 and 3. And it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing, but I think it's a trap that's very easy to fall into when a time loop is your main mechanic. The ending was pretty good, I will say, and the mechanics that they introduced, the twists, rather, on the mechanics that they introduced were excellent in Echoes of the Eye, but the ending wasn't as satisfying as Outer Wilds. I don't think that's going to surprise anyone, because the ending of Outer Wilds is very good.
That is true. It is. It's very good. I loved it.
But the problem is some of the twists that they give you in Echoes of the Eye, for me, undercut the ending. And it's a shame, because it might be that I misinterpreted it, or it might be that the ending was just felt a little bit rushed, or like that they could have spent a little more time just really nailing the kind of more emotional beats of the ending. But do you guys feel that the sort of template nature is something easy to fall into with time loop games that you guys can think of?
I just really want to quickly chime in on something with a DLC undercutting the ending. Steven's probably going to hate me for this, but fucking Final Fantasy 15 did that. I hated it so much because the ending of 15 was one of my favorite things. And then they get to the ending of the first season pass, and they're like, oh, by the way, here's a DLC for Ignis where we just get to split the timeline. And the split timeline ending is just like, yeah, no, we're just going to give a semi-happy ending. And then they were going to go into a second season pass, and they're like, you know what? Forget about those 2 endings. We're going to make another ending where everyone gets a happy ending. And that season pass got cancelled after the first DLC, but they couldn't let it go, so they put it into a fucking novel.
So does that retcon the original ending? Because when I'm talking about endings, I mean the ending of Outer Wilds is the ending of Outer Wilds, but it doesn't the end of the there's like the end of the DLC in Echoes of the Eye, but it's not the ending of Outer Wilds. It's just I have played through the content of Echoes of the Eye, and it does like a little credits card and all of that stuff. And as soon as you finish that, you can go and still finish Outer Wilds the quote unquote proper way. Like they are 2 distinct endings.
Yeah, it's still distinct endings. They're still, the main game still has its normal ending. It's just like as these DLC episodes came out, it's like, you know what? Let's throw in a split timeline here, just because I don't know, we had too much of a good thing, so let's go and make alternate endings that are just worse.
Anything you want to chime in with, Steve?
Yeah, I don't really think the Final Fantasy 15 example is like not really a. That's more because there was problems with developing the actual DLC, and the DLC shouldn't have existed. It should have been in the base game.
It should have.
Yeah, it should have. Yeah, but no. Going on to the Outer Wilds and the time loop mechanic itself, that does it. keeping in mind I haven't played the DLC, which is on my to-do list. I promise I'll get there, dear listener. I promise I'll get there.
But
But
Well, there probably is no but. The core essence of a time loop game is a sense of progression, and that is probably one of the things that either makes or breaks one of those games. I think that the Outer Wilds does it very well because you have that terminal that shows you all the lore that you've uncovered, as well as your own experience of what you've done to get that. So if you miss something the first time, you can always go back and look at it because you've got that terminal to see where things are in the scheme of things and how they relate and what planet you went to, what piece of lore you uncovered, and you can even see what pieces of lore you're missing or which ones you've got hints for. If there's like a reference to one piece and another piece, which is very good. And that's sort of, well, but the contrast to that is one of the best time loop games and one of my favorite games of all time, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Whereas instead of knowledge that's being brought across between the time loops, you are bringing across equipment with the different masks that you're wearing and the different items that you're using.
yeah, Majora's Mask is a very different sort of thing where it's not so much templatey because every time loop, instead of like going and doing a similar thing, you go on different journeys and and explore different parts of the world and characters.
And do different things. And something like Majora's Mask, you can't do everything in a single run. If you try to, like 6-year-old me did, you just end up back at the start and you haven't done anything because you've run out of time. And that can be frustrating, especially when you know that you don't have that much time left and you're like halfway through a dungeon or really close to the end of the dungeon and you just sort of need to finish it.
yeah, because that's an interesting point, right? So you're saying that Majora's Mask is one where, like Outer Wilds, it'll just kill you in the middle of what you're doing because of a time limit?
Yeah, but it's a lot easier in the Outer Wilds to get to where you were because everything's a lot more fragmented. And while there is an overarching story, the story is made up by 20 or 30 pieces of like individual lore that are to go out and collect. Whereas Majora's Mask is a lot more formulaic in the equipment that you need and what needs to be done in each individual loop. Like there's no point going to the second dungeon without completing the first dungeon because you don't have the equipment to go there. Like it's a lot more formulaic, and that might just be
even.
It's
like Metroidvania even.
Yeah. That was have I played a Metroid game? No. Have I played a Castlevania game? Also no. I played the Metroid Prime.
Have you played a
series.
Metroidvania? Yes.
Metroid Prime is still kind of Metroidvania-ish.
Yeah, they are.
They translated it to 3D very well.
They did fantastic. When are those remakes coming, Nintendo? I know you listen to this.
The reason why that distinction is interesting to me is that Deathloop doesn't have, as I said, that time element at all. You can go into a particular location at a particular time of day and just sit there for as long as you want, and there is nothing stopping you from doing so. And what's interesting is that Josh has played both the start of Outer Wilds and the start of Deathloop, and hasn't really, I don't know, putting words in your mouth here, Josh, but you haven't really gelled with either of them. But those are two very distinctive approaches to how to do a time loop mechanic. Is there a particular piece that's in common between them that you're just not gelling with, or is it just both approaches you're just not really on board with?
So to be honest, Deathloop, the time loop wasn't so much an issue for me with Deathloop. I do intend to try and give it another go. It's just for me, it was like there wasn't enough going on to keep me interested. To be honest, the combat was like kind of meh, and I get that like I can get better equipment and go back in and then unlock and find new secrets and other bits and pieces like that. But it just, I don't know, there wasn't enough at the start. I think it's a very weak starting game. I think if I give it another like 4 or 5 hours or something and really just get into like the flow of how it all works and pick up some good weapons and stuff like that, unlock a couple of the secrets and be able to do a couple more things in the worlds that you go into, because you enter like a segmented world from my understanding, and then once you leave that world, that day is kind of done, like the level rather maybe than a world, and that like it's really hard to really get into that in any kind of aspect, to be honest, if you're not vibing with the story. And I think the other part that kind of killed it for me is that I think you said this, right? It has a weak ending. And I happened to watch that ending while watching you play the game, not realizing that it was going to come to PC and I might actually play it, or to Game Pass very specifically. And knowing that I'm leading up to that weak ending, it kind of kills a lot of the momentum.
Yeah, no, it definitely takes the wind out of the sails if you know the destination's going to be a weak one.
Yeah. In terms of like Majora's Mask or Outer Wilds and stuff like that, to me, I'm not a person that likes to play games and solely focus on a game and just focus on it and just try and get things done. I'll pick up a game and it's like a social experience, or I'll do it while I'm messaging people or whatever. And the added pressure of having a hard time limit, even if I can pause it, is just frustrating. And especially like when Steven says, for example, I was really into Outer Wilds on this one planet, and I was digging through a whole bunch of stuff, and I was finding a bunch of lore. And while I was heading to what I think was probably the last thing I needed to find for this particular story thing, the world ended, and I had to restart and go back there and then go through these portals again and do the little puzzle. It only takes like 4 minutes or whatever, but having to do that again just takes me out of the story. And for me, to me, it didn't add anything to the gameplay for me. I get that there's an added loop of pressure and that the whole point is you need to figure out why the world's ending, etc. But for me personally, it didn't really resonate.
Sure. Yeah. There's one other... do you have a follow-up for that, Steve? Because otherwise there's one other angle that I want to attack.
I completely get how fucking frustrating that can be, especially in the Outer Wilds, where like by the time you work out the puzzle of the room or like where to get there, and sometimes it is by accident.
Time to come back tomorrow.
Yeah, and you hear that first tone, and it's like the duh, and you're like, no,
I
just got here, no. But I think that makes things
snooze the alarm.
No,
yeah,
go back. Like, but that is part of like the challenge or the extra difficulty to solve, and I can understand that, like, why that is frustrating. And
it is, but like I wouldn't play a game like that for the difficulty. I'm playing that solely for the story. So for me to be taken out of that story, just to have to walk back for a sense of either difficulty or, whatever else it is, I guess just to have the loop. My problem is I just don't see a situation where I see that and go, this wouldn't be better where I could just play through the story in a set time frame. And then the world just ends when I want it to end or something like that. Like if there was a button that says, okay, I'm done with this world now, let's progress. That'd be fine by me if I don't want to fast travel or whatever. Or if you find everything on a certain planet or on a certain loop, it goes, hey, do you want to restart? You found whatever it is here or anything like that. Even just stepping back into your ship after you found a puzzle progresses you anything. I would prefer something else. And yeah, for me, it just doesn't click. It's not my type of game. It's interesting
because that sounds like what you're describing there is how Deathloop does progression because there is no time limit. It's just, you finished everything here. Fuck off back to the hideout.
Yeah, which is why I'm sort of saying like it's not the loop which just sort of killed Deathloop for me. It's a number of other factors. I do intend to go back and try and play it again. I don't think it will really be a top game for me, or even I don't even know if I'll complete it. But it's I need to give it more of a chance, I feel.
Yeah. So that's the one other thing I want to touch on, and then I'm conscious that we haven't heard how Monarch fits into this, so we'll throw it to you in a sec, Seth. But the one thing that I want to grab before we do is the other interesting thing about, at least, because this is sort of coming down to almost Outer Wilds versus Majora's Mask versus Deathloop discussion. I haven't played Majora's Mask, so I can't speak for that side of it, but Outer Wilds and Deathloop treat the kind of tutorial handholdy the start of the game very differently, where Outer Wilds, they give you very little, like you almost want more. They teach you the very basics of flying a ship, and that ghost matter will kill you, and then you get the launch codes, you do kind of the first loop, and then the game quote unquote starts, and so you're up and running in 40-ish minutes. I think it's been a while since I started it, but I think about 45 minutes, and you're sort of into the core game, and the game just goes, all right, if you know what you're doing, you could finish the game right now, but of course you don't know what you're doing, so that's the entire point of playing through it. Deathloop, on the other hand, handholds you all the way through the first day, where they introduce a bunch of story, they introduce some of the mechanics in a gradual way, and it's almost, I would argue,
honestly,
too much tutorial, because the hand-holding is quite aggressive. Like, I want to look at my inventory, but the menu stops me from doing that because it says, oh, no, you need to do this next thing because you're in the tutorial. You don't know what you're doing. We don't trust you to understand the mechanics. So I have no idea where Majora's Mask fits on there, but I think those are almost polar opposites in terms of where the tutorial of a time loop game goes, because those are two very different experiences, right? Outer Wilds, you're left to your own devices entirely, and you have 22-minute cycles to figure it all out. Deathloop, they make it very clear up front what the entire point of the game is, and then release you. But I almost want something in the middle where it tells me where it gives me the framework to play in and then gets out of my way. And it feels like I don't know what that framework is in Outer Wilds, and it feels like I'm not left to my own devices fast enough in Deathloop. And I think that's why it probably turned you off a bit, Josh, because me sitting in the back of Discord going, just trust me, bro. It's only another couple hours and then the game starts. Just trust me.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm sitting there going, oh, and I'm like trying to I could see me being like obviously frustrated given that you were watching me going, oh, you can't do that until after the tutorial. And I'm sitting there going, why?
But why not?
I was just frustrated. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, well, this is really dumb that I can't do this. And you're like, nah, it's a tutorial, it's a tutorial, it's a tutorial. I'm like, how long is this fucking tutorial, bro?
Yeah. So, Steve, where does Majora's Mask fit on that?
Probably, it's a half an unfair comparison because...
it's unfair, that's fine. Like this I'm saying, I don't know, I haven't played Majora's Mask to know if that's even a good comparison to make, but I think that it's interesting to compare those two.
No, I think the way that Majora's Mask kind of fits into this is... the way I'm hearing it from these three games that I've mentioned so far is that Outer Wilds and Deathloop kind of treat their time loops as more of a gameplay thing, and the story is kind of static. Things are going to happen no matter what, and the loop is just like a gameplay opportunity. While Majora's Mask, the time loop is more of a narrative thing. And
it's definitely a narrative thing in Outer Wilds.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
as well,
but
it becomes a narrative thing. It builds into the narrative thing.
It builds into it, and it's more like as you're you playing it is like I gotta keep discovering more and more of the story and how it all ties together through the gameplay, and then the gameplay is like trying to push back against you of learning those things. While Majora's Mask is more go do a bunch of little mini story arcs, and then the world's gonna end, re-loop back to 3 days before that world ends, do some more, and like your overall gameplay is pushing the narrative forward, sort of thing. Like you're getting more equipment and pushing towards the ending through all the gameplay loops.
So
whereas fast travel lounge. Shout out for our podcast.
That's us.
Outer Wilds is like it's more of a you're finding the reason why for the time loop, whereas Majora's Mask is why the time loop's happening. You have to stop it to save the world, which is sort of a little bit of what happens in the Outer Wilds, but it's
more of
just
a mystery
from the
in
other
Outer
side.
Wilds.
Yeah. It's probably an exploration versus a hard stop or a quest.
If we're taking Majora's Mask as the example there, would you consider a Dead Rising game to be a time loop game?
No. That is a game with a time mechanic. It's different.
It's a hard time limit thing. If it's because it doesn't loop back to the beginning unless you're doing a new playthrough.
It does when you get the game over screen.
Yeah, and that's
unless you've saved.
Time Crisis is a time loop game. GG.
Yeah. Life is a time loop game, right? You wake up and you start the next day.
Hey, true.
But Deja Vu is just you hitting a checkpoint again.
Going to the kitchen and God's cancelled my Simba. But it's something like a Dead Rising. To reset the loop, you have to get a game over, which is a fail condition. Whereas the Outer Wild, it's not a fail condition to reset the loop. It is just
part of gameplay.
Yeah, like there is nothing you can do to stop that loop unless you're like finishing the story type of thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's just interesting that how you're describing Majora's Mask is also kind of you have 3 days to do this thing. In Dead Rising, you have 3 days before the military shows up to rescue you.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe
those 3 days.
Very very good point when you say it like that.
It's just that Majora's Mask is that you don't have. It's not a hard 3 days. It's just like. When 3 days happens, that's your endpoint, and you got to go back, and everything you've done it gets reset back to how it was 3 days ago, while
Yeah.
Dead
And
Rising is you hit that
And
end of
you're
the 3 days and the story's done.
I was
And you're
about,
free to go back whenever you want. Like, you
Yeah.
could be like 2 seconds into the first day and you're like, nope, fucked it up.
I want to
Time go back."
rewind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We must
I
go
think the
back.
big
I looked
difference
at
is
that guy
progression.
wrong.
The big difference to me there is progression between things. You make progression in Majora's Mask. In Dead Rising, you don't.
Yeah,
It
that's
just
You
kind
true.
of
can
is
just
done.
stay in the safe room for 3 days, and that's a win condition.
Yeah.
True. Who needs
Man,
zombies to save your daughter when you could instead just save yourself?
Dead Rising
Yeah,
4
and-
is not a good video game.
True.
And so I've been trying to segue into this for the last 10 minutes whenever it came up as time loops as a narrative thing. Monarch is way more on the side of the narrative and also the template sort of way of doing the time loop. So I talked about the first half of the game a couple of weeks ago. The second half of the game is more you're tying up loose ends, but every time you're tying up loose ends, and there's certain story beats that are going to happen every time. So you choose between your 4 friends who you're going to go through to basically an ending with, and once you pick one, you'll go into a dungeon for one of the opposite pax bearers that are in the that you didn't pick. Once you take them out and remove their power set, you're going to meet up with the villain. The villain's going to split into their 2 different personalities. An event's going to happen that either one of them is going to win, or they're both going to live, and you have to help one or the other. And then you go into fighting the one that is dictated as the big bad for this story arc. And then once you do that, you reach your life's end point, and then you reset back to choosing between the 4 friends again, and then you repeat that process for each different friend. Those same sort of story beats happen over and over again, and then it all leads towards a payoff of like, well, once you've done all 4 of them, you've been repeatedly asked, hey, are you satisfied with this ending or not? And you're always given like 2 options of I'm not satisfied, or there's still more I can do. And for the final one, it's like, no, I'm still not satisfied with this ending because my sister is still dead. I've been killed, and there's just still too many problems that are happening. So you do one final loop, and this is where I'm a little contentious with how the game handles this. You kind of skip all the story progression, and like you loop back to before your sister dies of this time, and you kind of use your gameplay ability of resonating in story to share these memories of all the different time loops that had happened, and everyone that was connected to you gets those memories as well, and they just kind of think of it as like a vision or a dream. And until you go and tell them, no, this was real, this happened, and it kind of like kicks them into like where their character progression ended, and now everyone's at this point where like we're going towards this big end game moment, and they kind of use that time loop as an advantage. The time loop in this game as an advantage of learn more about the characters, learn more about the story. We're going to piecemeal little bits of like the story through each different person's loop, and then the payoff is like, hey, now that you've done them all, everyone's going to come together for this big moment to actually finish the game for real. My contention with that is I probably would have preferred it if you like merged timelines instead, because I feel like it's cheap to show people their future and that like kickstarts their character progression when they didn't earn it, sort of thing.
This sounds like Xenoblade Chronicles 1.
A little
With Shulk
bit.
being able to see the future.
A little
like
bit.
Nier, honestly, like Nier Automata.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Is that a time loop game?
I would say no.
No,
I would say
you're
a hard
you're
no.
seeing the same events through different perspectives.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Even if you
Okay.
weren't, it's still a hard no for me. It's still like you could end the game at the first point and not know anything further, right? Even if you did all of them, they're almost separate games the way that they play. So.
Yeah, near Automata, yes. Near Replicant, absolutely
Not
not.
so much, yeah.
You play through that same segment 4 times, and you better be happy about it.
It was not. Spoiler.
That's a
You
good
didn't
game,
even
but
do it. You didn't even do it the first
I
time.
didn't even finish it, no. I actually re-downloaded it again this week after I had to wipe my PC.
All right, everybody, shut up. Speaking of time loop games, the new Diglett is called Wiglet.
It's called Wiglet. Oh, that's a great
Wiglet.
name.
Yeah.
It told you
It
it's
is
a Wiglet.
literally just the Wigglers from Monster Hunter.
I said this. Oh no, the Wiggler from Mario. I said, you know what?
No, the Wiggler
Don't
from
believe me?
Monster
Go back
Hunter.
to the start. We're making our own time loop game.
Is it choose your own adventure book a time loop?
The other thing that
I onto something.
the other couple things that I just want to hit on, because I realized that sort of wrapping up the time loop discussion, but I forgot to mention for Echoes of the Eye specifically, in stepping to one side of the time loop chat for a sec, the other interesting couple points about the DLC is that it takes a very different tone to the base game. The base game is very kind of starry-eyed wonder, let's explore everything. Interestingly, Echoes of the Eye is much more horror tone, which I actually really like, and it's also a lot harder than the base game in some of the stuff that you have to do. And I also should point out that the template, I don't want to say that the templating thing is an Outer Wilds thing because of how we've been discussing it. It's just that for the different aspects of the story that you are doing in Echoes of the Eye, that they are templates of themselves. But it just sort of makes it hard because Echoes of the Eye feels like it's trying to be judged as a standalone game as well as a DLC. So just want to make that point clear. But all up, I guess the final sort of coming down to where things are at question is where are we at for scores? Because I guess Echoes of the Eye for me is 7. Gameplay's pretty good. Story perhaps slightly not as like. It's annoying. The story of Echoes of the Eye compared to the story of the base game, I'm much more invested in the story of Echoes of the Eye, but the ending is weaker, so kind of hard to wrap it up. But overall, I'd say 7. Definitely worth playing. Maybe even an 8. I'm not sure. Because the more I think about Outer Wilds, the more I want to give it a higher and higher score. So maybe an 8 for Echoes of the Eye, actually.
It is one of those games. I do have to get that DLC.
Yeah. What does Monarch sit for you, Seth, as we're sort of wrapping this up?
I think I'm also on an 8 for that. I also think it's a very personal 8 because there's a lot about that game I kind of recognize as probably not for other people. It's a very low budget game and very repetitive and grindy. But overall, I think the story was worth it. I think the time loop in that was interesting. Like, even though I wasn't a fan of how it handled the conclusion of the time loop, I was still a big fan of the moment itself. The thing with these time loop things is that I think the payoff for doing the time loop has to be worth it. Otherwise, it can make or break it. Like that seems to be the problem with Deathloop for Josh at the moment, where it's like he already knows that the payoff for the looping isn't going to be worth it for him, or it's going to land very flaccidly.
I mean, there's the good ending, the bad ending, and then the funny ending. And Josh definitely has seen the good ending and the funny ending.
Yeah,
I do like the funny ending, actually.
The funny ending is
to be
great.
fair, there's a
It is
new
pretty
ending
good.
now.
True, actually. Yeah,
I thought it was just
Rather
an
than
extended
ending. Yeah.
Yeah, which is not hard. The ending for Deathloop is all of about 30 seconds, no matter which option you pick. So
Yeah.
extending that,
Or if you're Patrick, option that you don't pick.
extending that shouldn't be too hard. Actually, I know that I keep thinking of other random things to say, but other point against Echoes of the Eye specifically for being a time loop mechanic, because it's almost standalone, the time loop mechanic does not weigh into the story almost at all. Like, the story of Echoes of the Eye specifically is completely separate to the story of figuring out the time loop in the base game, which really annoying, to be honest.
I can
but
understand that as well, kind of,
but
because
but it's also sort of expected because that's the entire that's Outer Wilds, right? So
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
You can't do a side DLC and solve the main the main story's narrative at the same time.
exactly. Yeah. Josh, of the discussion, are you more or less likely to give Deathloop another go?
I don't know. I probably give it another go at some point. Maybe I'd say I'm like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 more likely to give it a go.
And Outer Wilds?
Outer Wilds, I don't know. I think if I just sat down and dedicated a weekend to it, it would be good. But I don't really have the time for that right now, so probably won't pick it up anytime soon.
Fair enough.
So, it came back to Game Pass. Yeah,
final thoughts from you, Steve, before we wrap up?
I like time loop games. We didn't talk about 12 minutes.
We did semi recently.
Yeah, no, but just...
We talked about it for 12
minutes. We definitely talked about 12 minutes.
No, but just not more in like a bit more detail that I could...
No, but on the previous loop we did.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There is
that
one
was a
more
loop where I
game
showed you the
called,
present.
I think it's still on Game Pass. It's called Minute without the E, and that was an okay loop game because everything you do is 60 seconds. Like you literally have 60 seconds to do everything, and you get sort of you get progression out of it by solving different things in the 60 seconds. That was an okay loop game, but that was very strict. You could play it for a minute and then do something else. So it was good. I'd recommend giving that one a go.
Shout out to Wiggler.
Okay, thank you for those final thoughts, Steve. Right, well, I guess it means we've finished the Run the Lounge section for this week. Thank you to everyone for the discussion, as always, which means we get to move on to part 2 for this week, which is, of course, the news. And kicking things off, we have...
Penrith Panthers being in the grand final.
Speaking of...
yeah, boy.
No, they're not.
Eels gonna win.
The Penrith Panthers. Yeah, the boys.
I don't believe that Eels will win, but I hope they'll
100
win.
0.
Anyway, that's enough Australian stuff here for today.
It's going to be.
Seth, I feel violated that they not only started talking over me, but they talked over me with Australian sports. Who do I call about this?
Not
the All Blacks. Don't talk about the All Blacks. No, it's not funny at all.
Call your local editor and see if they'll cut it out.
I'm gonna hand the controller to my big brother, the All Blacks. They're gonna kick your ass.
Fair, you won the second Bledisloe. That's fair. But the first one, the ref beat you. Fuck you.
If you pay your local editor a fair wage, he'll cut it out for you.
No, I want this left in. So anyway, Hugh Jackman, huh?
Wow, thanks for spoiling it. I was going to say, speaking of time loops, Deadpool 3 had an announcement in a very Ryan Reynolds way of announcing that not only that Deadpool 3 was sounding like
in development hell because he couldn't figure out a script.
True, but also that he's bringing on a hugely jacked man back as Wolverine, which is interesting given that he was dead and buried at the end of Logan.
Yeah, but also don't forget the end of Deadpool 2. He time looped back, killed the original Deadpool, and kind of told Wolverine in that movie if Ryan Reynolds gives him a call to return as Wolverine to pick up and say yes.
True. Man,
it's all coming together.
The Deadpool extended cinematic universe is really getting to me, huh?
If you take the Jack out of Hugh Jackman, it's just a species.
Huge man.
Hugh man.
Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome. That's my contribution. I have not seen the Deadpool movies, and I don't intend to.
Can I fly into the sun to start the next loop so that I don't have to exist in this timeline anymore? Or
yeah, but you got to do it while listening to Sex Pop.
I mean, if I'm already flying into the sun, I mean,
you like that Simpsons episode where they eject themselves? It's not fast enough.
So Patrick, actually going off like your actual talking point, even though Logan was a very good ending for
fantastic.
It was a very good ending. I liked it.
I also just think that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds the past couple of years have been having this like Twitter and YouTube back and forth arguments that are really funny, and I think that they actually play off each other very well. So it doesn't have to be that version of Wolverine, but just having Hugh Jackman back to riff off Ryan Reynolds for one more go in a Deadpool movie is really, really funny and exciting for me.
True. Do you think they're going to have to return to original Deadpool design in order to fit in with the retcon? Or...
No, absolutely not. Keep that away.
I don't know.
He died at the end of Deadpool
2. True.
That was a good movie. I liked the first two Deadpools. They were good movies.
Yeah, was it just the... I'm forgetting when they came out. The first one came out on Valentine's Day, I'm pretty sure, but I don't remember when the second one came out because I've seen both in theaters, but it's been a while since I've seen a Deadpool film in
believe the
theaters.
second one came out in 2017 or 2016 because I was in Canada at the time and I saw it with my Canadian friends. Actually, no, it was the
Deadpool
first
2,
one that came
2016.
out. That was the first one, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm having
because otherwise that's been 6 years since Deadpool 2, and that's got Julian Dennison. Thank you. Yeah. Which I don't think he was that well known back in 2016. So
Googling it, it was 2018.
yeah, that makes more sense. Anyway, I don't have anything more to
Imagine if
say.
his name
I'm
was
excited
Julian
for.
Denadorta. You reckon it would have worked? As opposed to Dennison.
That's it. All Blacks are going to break down your door soon, man.
All the best.
They're coming.
God, I hope
They
so.
won't fit through the door, so I understand.
That's why they're breaking it down.
Yeah.
Can I go now?
No.
No.
All right, next.
You'll have to sit and stew in what you've done.
Speaking of
Next up.
going, Nier Automata is going to get an anime in 2013, eh? In 2023. Man, I fucked that up.
Speaking of Miles going somewhere, go miles away.
This is a mess.
It is a mess.
It's just kind of weird for me because when I think about like other Kiwis, they're always trying to go to Australia to take their jobs, but it seems like all these Australians are trying to take my job, and it's sort of backwards. It's kind of weird.
I just want a progressive government, please.
Yeah, right. Anyway, next up on the list, might as well hit the Miles Morales thing first. Coming to PC via a teaser trailer. I think this was expected. Does this actually surprise anyone?
Very expected because the first one came. Just surprised it's happening this fast.
Well,
I wasn't expecting this for a little bit while longer.
was this attached to the leaks around the Spider-Man launcher, or was this something
I don't think so.
else?
So the headline for this is that Steph is surprised it came so fast. But
Man, if I had a nickel every time Seth said that to me.
Wait, what?
You heard me.
I watched from the window
I can't
and
tell
I'm like,
who's it like. Is that joke at your expense or Seth's? I'm so confused.
Yeah, probably both.
I'm the sicko watching from his window laughing, but then it kind of gets cut short because it's over in like 5 seconds.
And then you have to edit it down.
Travis Scott has entered the building. Sicko mode.
I have to edit it up.
That sounds horrifying. Anyway, Miles Morales coming to PC. Any takers? Any interest? I guess Seth, you've already played it because you've talked about it on the like here of all places. But anyone else interested?
It was
On
here
the
in
Fast
fact.
Travel Lounge.
After the break.
See, again, you're coming for my job. It's can't have this. You already have your own jobs and a high functioning economy and cities without 66% of people wanting to leave. Shout out to Auckland.
No one wants to be in Sydney.
If there's good mods, I'll get it for cheap. But this will be more me pushing it onto other people that I think will enjoy the game. Hey, this is a very good game, and it's on a platform you'll play it on.
You've played
give it a
Miles
go.
Morales, haven't you?
Yeah, I platinumed it.
Sorry to hear that.
It was a very good game. I highly enjoyed it.
Do you reckon they're going to bring Ratchet and Clank to PC?
It was on the NVIDIA
only.
leak.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, as in the like remakes of them?
No.
No, not the remakes.
Rift
Rift Apart.
Just give me up your arsenal back.
That and
It's a good game.
that and Returnal were both on the leak.
I still think Locked and Loaded's better than Up Your Arsenal, but that's a discussion for
Locked and
another
Loaded was good too. But
discussion for another time. But I mean, both are good games. Both are good games. Can't fault that.
In fact,
but
it was I'm pretty sure it was a discussion we had when I was talking about Rift Apart on the podcast.
Probably was, yeah.
wouldn't surprise
Because
me.
I said it was up there as like second or third place for me in top tier Ratchet and Clank games.
That and Crack in Time still high up on my list. Anyway, if they do end up bringing Ratchet and Clanks to PC, I will certainly get them more than the other ones. Actually, I picked up Horizon just because it was on sale last week on Steam.
Such a good game.
Which I'm excited to get into at some point, not in the immediate future, but yeah.
I will watch you play it if you
Miles
play it.
Morales, exciting, but for me personally, not as exciting as if they were to announce Ratchet and Clank. Anyway, moving on, Nier Automata getting an anime.
Yay!
This is This seems to be a trend. People trying to bolster IP appeal with animated series alongside the video games.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that Nier Automata was a good game before the anime hit.
I mean, I know that's a dig at Cyberpunk, but I mean, Dota 2 has Dragon's Blood and League of Legends has Arcane, and neither of those are like bad. Like the people who play them are bad people, but the games themselves are not bad.
I also probably wouldn't classify Arcane as a anime.
True, but it is an animated series, though.
It is an anime series, though, yes.
Taking a lot of inspiration from Japanese animation. So.
Yes, but it's still a Western-produced thing.
I guess, yeah.
Okay, so here's a question for you fellas. We're going into this discussion.
Didn't it have a direction of Japanese?
No, I was just going to say, like, if it's a Western anime, are we hitting dangerously into the Simpsons anime territory?
No, actually, we're talking about how Arcane is the Avatar: The Last Bender of its generation.
Yeah, which is made by
the movie, right?
By Western people.
Okay, you can just leave. Like the door is right there. All right.
He's been trying for months and we haven't let him.
Yeah, that's it.
That's because we're trying to.
Next week is from Patrick. See you guys.
We're trying to run that little severance experiment where he tries to leave, but he can't because he can't be outside without having the lobotomized part of his brain switched off. Does Nier Automata excite people as an animated series? I think it probably fit quite well.
I'm very interested because they've already confirmed they're not just straight up one-to-oneing the story. The animation studio wanted to one-to-one the story, but Yoko Taro, the producer and director of the series, was like, you know what? This is an animated format. I want to make some changes to fit better for that.
Yoko Taro was like, so if you one-to-one it, then we'll have to ban everyone else from playing Automata on YouTube, so it better be an original.
The man wanted to actually make mandatory wipes a part of the Nier Automata Raisin 14 and delete your character.
But that's how you get it. That's at the final achievement. Mwah.
You just don't understand. It's just a higher level game to what you've been playing.
It would have been very, very faithful to Nier, but God, that would have been a nitmare.
None of that.
It'd be cool if it did it
in this house.
Oh yeah, no, he just wanted you to have your character wiped from the servers.
Yeah, I know. Be cool if it was okay.
I'm pretty sure he said it as a joke, but still, he had to be talked down from the joke.
Not people in general, just you specifically. Like to anyone listening, you like your character, just yours.
But yeah, I'm excited for this. A1 Pictures usually do some pretty nice animation. And the key visuals that they've actually released with it are gorgeous. So,
oh yeah, those would make amazing posters and wall scrolls.
Yeah. Plus, I love the characters. I love the story. I loved the world. I will be definitely watching this.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of interested to see what Yoko Taro's idea of changing things up for an animated format means.
Honestly, I would be excited even if it was just releasing just the music that they're going to be putting into it. The Nier Automata soundtrack is just one of the best of all time.
Can confirm that is very true.
For more.
It's
right. Well,
no, it's Final Fantasy 13. Never mind. Sorry, never mind.
Going back to
Final Fantasy 13 is also
I'm just having a bit of a schizo moment, and I'm just going to keep talking to interrupt Pat more.
Back animated adaptations for video games. Thank you, Steve. Next up on the list, we have Netflix announcing Onimusha. Onimusha. Yeah, nailed it. Boom.
Right.
First take. Don't worry about it.
First try.
Always is. I never miss. That's all I'm saying.
Can confirm the host has never missed once. Now, where's that pay upgrade?
The last time, no.
Okay, so I might have missed once.
Is the pay upgrade in the room with us now, Seth?
God, I wish.
So
it'd at least be tangible in that if it was.
Seth, the door is right there. It's the one that Josh just left through. All right. I'm kidding. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. Please come back. I have not.
Too late. I'm walking out through the Josh-shaped hole.
It's not even the door. It's the hole next to the door. Very like Wile E. Coyote-esque. And the crazy part is he forgot his wallet and came back in by making another hole to the side of that one and still didn't use the door. Anyway, I haven't played Onimusha at all. I know very little about this, but does this excite the others? The others here?
All right, we're having
I wanted to bring this up. I wanted to bring this up as a stark contrast to the Nier one because Onimusha would work great as an anime, but it's being done by the people that did the Dragon's Dogma anime for Netflix.
I was about to say that, yeah.
And that was a shit show.
So not only that, but they also did Kazakura, I think it is called, and that was also really shit. And they're both rated like a 5 on my anime list. Like they're garbage.
Yeah, no, they're awful animes, and so this could have been a great thing, and it's just a missed opportunity.
Well, we don't necessarily know that for sure. Maybe they've changed something. Maybe it'll be good. But
I have no
don't
faith
have a
because
high hope.
everything Capcom's done in association with Netflix has been horrible.
Yeah. It also, like, even just the frames that they've given us here, while it looks kind of good, you can tell it's 3D animation, and it's not going to be good 3D animation, so...
Yeah, no, Dragon's
I'm
Dogma was
gonna
also
pass.
3D animation, and...
Yeah. It'll be
Yeah.
the same sort of style, and it's a pass from me. I sleep.
I'm just going to
pass.
say a funny story, because this podcast is literally the ramblings of Stephen. So I
It's true. This man never shuts up.
hey, you're paying.
No one asked, and he still talked.
I told. So back in the original Xbox Huge days, I had like a demo disc that had Onimusha Warlords on it, and I think it really only had like half an hour of content, and I must have played that game like a million times.
He played it at least once.
Yeah. So then when I actually
Got it, like at
So then
least
I
11.
found out that they made a hasty version of Onimusha Warlords, the Xbox One. I nearly bought it.
It's not Warlords though. It's the original PS2 version. So you're missing things that Warlords did.
Oh well, who cares? I didn't end up buying it anyway. Is it any
I
good?
did. I haven't played it, but I bought it to support the re-release in hopes that they do more.
Yeah.
It has been on the backlog for some time.
Are you sure? According to the Wikipedia article,
Do you have a game that's not on your backlog?
hey, it's on the Switch as well. Yeah, look, I'm keen for this anime. Will I watch it? Maybe after my favorite podcast reviews it.
But
Maybe you'll be the one to
Exactly.
review it for the podcast.
yeah,
Maybe.
I feel like it's one of those I give, you receive memes, but it's just Steve, and it's I give a review of this anime to the podcast. I receive absolutely nothing.
No, you receive good content.
I know what I said. Anyway, next up in the list, we have the fighting game Power Hour, hosted by our very own Ford Truck Month representative,
Ford Punch
Seth.
Month. Ford Punch Month.
Oh god, I hate Fords.
You hate Ford? What the fuck is wrong with you?
I know, I just
Golden
felt like
Boys.
saying it to just
Get
try
outta
and get
here,
that.
Ford
I
Falcon.
wanted to get that association away from me. So I had to say the first thing to come to
What do
mind.
you hate? What? You hate the great deals? You hate the investment in environmentally sustainable fuels and electric vehicles? Which part of it do you hate?
You know, I'd say
man
I hate
hates
it, but I
V8
actually really
supercars.
loved the Dragon Ball Z ad about the Ford Fusion.
Well, Fusion was a shit car.
Yeah, but the ad was phenomenal.
Such a fucking unbelievably
Just
shit car.
just wait till you see the Ford Spirit Bomb.
Can't wait for Ford Ultra Instinct.
It's
That's what they should call their like AI driving one.
just imagine you're at a Ford dealership and the person's like, so what color would you like your Raptor? And you're like, I want Ultra Instinct yellow.
Yuck.
You know,
Ultra Instinct isn't even
whoever
yellow.
makes the AI that
It's fucking white.
Wait a minute. This man's never seen
I know,
Dragon
that's
Ball
what I
Super in his
thought too.
life.
based. I applaud him for it. He's a better man for not watching it.
What color do you want your Raptor? Super Saiyan Rose. And they go, here's your Miata keys.
You know what? Joke's on you. I have a one of one Ultra Instinct yellow Ford Raptor in my driveway.
So are Teslas the ultra egos of the world because they just punch into everything and
Yeah.
everyone?
I'm pretty sure Peugeots are the Majin Buu because it's just like getting hit by a marshmallow.
Oh, that's a good one, actually. Peugeot. I always thought that Peugeot was like pronounced Pidgeot because of like I was a big Pokemon fan. I still am a big Pokemon fan, to be honest. So I called it like I'm getting a Pidgeot.
And then the car mega revolves and you're like, oh shit, it's viable and it has no guard.
Is Great Wall just the
No,
Yamcha?
that's that really
I think
big
so.
wall in China. It's like one of the big landmarks I got out there. You didn't
All
see
right,
it
let's
because this is
move
an
on.
audio
Hey, Seth,
medium,
what
but
about
like
these
that.
fighting games, huh?
Are the kids still doing that? If you're a kid, actually, you know what? If you're a kid, are you still dabbing?
Stop
Oh,
listening to
no,
us.
whatever you do, do not write into Steve. He's not allowed to accept messages from people under the age of 18.
I knew it. As soon as it started foaming in my mouth, I'm like,
Yeah, I know. I was going to make a joke about 500 yards or something, but yeah. All right, so Seth, fighting games, hey? All
Yeah.
these games
So-
and they
kids.
fight.
So this first one's just kind of like a point by point sort of thing because DNF Duel is getting a big bug and balance patch coming up.
Does it feature
in
rollback
December.
netcode?
It actually does. This game does. It launched with rollback netcode. Good for them. Good for them.
That's a win in my book.
Such a mid game, though.
Yeah, no, everyone. The only reason I really put this in the docket is because people thought this game was dead. They just kind of went silent after the game launched in. Honestly, it wasn't even that old. I think it just came out in June or something. So it's only been quiet for a couple of months, and everyone's just like, "Oh no, they skipped Evo.
Game's dead.
They didn't say anything at Evo. It's dead. They're not updating the game. They're not going to add anything else." And so another fighting game tournament just happened recently where the game was heavily featured. And the director came out and said, "No, we're gonna do stuff for the game. Just be patient." So hopefully we see more characters down the line. For now they just teased we're not stopping at just a balance patch. We're gonna do other things as well. I'd like to see the roster expanded and more things happening. But this is a rare occasion where a fighting game didn't launch with a season pass day one, so we don't actually know what future plans for the game is right now.
DNF down to get DTF. All
every time I
right.
say
Next
DNF,
up.
I think of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel, and I don't know why. Yeah.
Honestly, same. I don't know
Must
why
be the
either.
font it's written in. You don't believe me? Google DNF
Yeah,
Rule 34.
Could be. You'll actually get very surprising results for
Maybe
that.
don't Google it then.
I don't want
Didn't
to
ask.
All right.
Guilty Gear Xrd is Revelator is getting rollback netcode for PC. I'm
Hey.
super excited about this because I fucking love Xrd. Strive has been fine. It's not the style of fighting game I want Guilty Gear to be. It's a much heavier game, I want to say. And everything it feels more restrictive as a game. It's fine for what it wanted to do as a game, but I much prefer the older Guilty Gear style of gameplay. So having Revelator, which is my favorite of the Guilty Gears I've played so far, get good netcode is super exciting to me. The public test is going to be happening late October on Steam. I'm going to be hitting that up right away. And okay, last one for fighting game block is Toshimichi Mori is leaving Arc System Works after having developed games there for 19 years. This is a big loss for Arc System Works because he was the creator for the BlazBlue series. So there's a lot of talk going around at the moment that BlazBlue might be dead because he's no longer part of that company, which is a shame because BlazBlue was also fantastic and one of the more highly regarded fighting games in my opinion.
He also has an actual story, which is nice. It's not just watching panels. They actually play through a story. At least some of the games did, I think.
They were kind of VNE with fights thrown in every now and then, yeah.
Yeah, but it's better than the way that Guilty Gear does it. But anyway,
Yeah, Guilty Gear just does a big ass
straight up gives you a
big-ass
fucking
story.
cutscene. Yeah.
Which is that's just how Revelator and Strive handled it. The older Guilty Gears handled it more like BlazBlue does. I wonder. I always wanted BlazBlue to go into the 3D style that Guilty Gear did before. I thought it looks really nice. It's a shame that might not happen now. But yeah, that's the fighting game block.
Cool.
You were supposed to say throwing it back to you in the studio, Patrick, and I would have gone, thanks, Seth. Stay frosty, or some other really. We would have had like a moment that would have been like a wave.
weather,
You
Patrick?
know I don't do moments.
The
Now we're going to go live to our reporter, Trisha Tuckanella.
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
How's the weather, Ali?
It's got rain.
It's raining.
Yeah. It's sideways,
Thanks,
yeah,
Alan.
it's so good.
you want some soup?
I like that one episode where they like legalized weed or whatever it was, and he's like, it's good. It was so good.
Next up on the list, we have a rating for Silent Hill: The Short Message, specifically a Korean rating. So I really don't know what to make of this, if I'm honest.
Triple S.
Yeah, no, Silent Hill rumors have been going around for fucking years now.
Sorry.
Yeah, the Silent Hill rumors have
That's
been going
right.
on for years now, and I'm just glad like some semblance of anything's happening with it. Also, it means Konami is making a video game, thankfully.
Or it's just going to be another fucking pachinko machine.
Since it's a Korean rating, maybe not. I don't know if pachinko is popular in Korea, actually.
I don't know. It could just
I
be
think,
a free-to-play game.
I think
of some
Konami's
shitty
about to
kind,
find out too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, excited to see Silent Hill come back in some form. Hopefully it's a good game. I don't think Silent Hill has been good since Silent Hill 3.
Do we know what they actually rated it?
We don't.
Yes.
We just saw the listing and that's it.
I don't read
Yeah.
Korean, to be honest.
Same.
Yeah, but even with people who do, I don't think there's like a platform listed or anything. It's just
That's just because they
exists.
want to keep the pachinko machines to themselves.
Those bastards.
Oh well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Next up on the list, as someone who I think, and I quote, loves Activision Blizzard, specifically Diablo. Josh, do you want to take the next one?
Oh god, that makes me sound like a terrible person.
I threw up in my mouth a little.
It wasn't even a quote, is the worst part, but I feel bad even though I didn't even say it.
No, but you
I
loved it because you measured positively on their diversity tool. I thought, or was that not you? Was that someone
That
else?
was you.
I have no fucking clue, my dear. Anyway,
Honestly,
Diablo.
all four of us would probably have similar scores, and I'd probably be the only one score a little higher because of my skin color.
Alright.
God, everything's about race with you, isn't it?
But I'm a big fan.
According to that diversity
I'm
tool,
a big
yes.
fan of the 400 meters myself.
What?
What do you mean? We're talking about races, aren't we?
I'm done. All right, so Diablo 4
Wait,
betas are going
sorry,
out.
Steve, wait, hang on, shoot, I lost my tab. What was the previous news article?
The fighting game stuff?
Don't do this. It's such a fucking weak thread. Do not do this.
All right, I'll just skip to the punchline. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, Josh, Diablo 4.
Hey,
Yeah, so as someone that still actively plays Diablo 3
do you
seasons,
really? Oh, shit, I didn't
because
know-
I
yeah, I thought you
I
did
do,
that,
I
right.
do.
Let me
no.
go back to the beginning of this podcast. I believe I quoted myself in saying anyone that still plays Blizzard games deserves to be bullied.
Should be bullied. Look, I'm costing Diablo money by playing their seasons still, so I'm not giving them any money. In fact, I didn't even buy the base game. A friend of mine did. But yeah, I still actively play the seasons. I love the Diablo format. It's good for like a week of just nutting something out and just grinding out. And I frequent the top leaderboards worldwide, so it's just competitive for me. So I enjoy it. In saying that, I could not give less of a shit about Diablo 4. I have lost any and all faith that Activision and Blizzard like had with me. There was a point years ago where they would have been my favorite studio, hands down. They released just banger after banger of games, and then everything's just gone down the toilet. Like, all respect for them is just gone. So I don't expect this to be good. I have hopes. I probably won't buy it. Maybe if it goes on sale one day, or if it's just, getting insanely good reviews, I might give it a go. But I just could not care less at this point. Sorry, Blizzard. That's pretty much all I want to say about it.
I've heard, so I'm nowhere near as invested in Diablo as you are, but I've heard little bits. I think it was specifically around when it was kind of the height of people shitting on Diablo Immortal and people talking about what that meant for Diablo 4. And there was a couple people in the community that were doing, I almost want to say like freelance like mechanics and game balance analysis on Diablo 4, because I'm assuming they were part of like an early access program or something, talking about how basically the problems that people have with the scaling in Immortal is likely to exist in Diablo 4 as well. I don't know if that comes with the same kind of monetization schemes. I imagine it doesn't, because I don't think Diablo 4 is targeting mobile. Could be wrong on that, though.
They're not, and they've already said that there will be absolutely nothing outside of cosmetics that you could buy. Whether they keep their word for that, I don't know. But that's what they've said. I mean, obviously, if there's DLC, they'll do DLC, whatever. But there's no like in-game store and stuff like that, which Diablo 3 actually launched with as well, which had a very, very bad reception to the point where they removed it from the game. So I would hope that they take ideas from Diablo 3's store and then look at what happened to Immortal as well and go, maybe we don't do this. But you never know.
I know that I, for one, are really looking forward to when Diablo 4 comes out. Diablo 3 shutting down and becoming part of Diablo 4 and coming with a new launcher and being free to play. That's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Segue. I like it.
Segue?
How much do you want to shit on everyone?
Just go back to the Diablo chat. You said something about like Diablo Immortal. Are you guys aware of how much money Diablo Immortal is making them? Because as much as it's been getting trashed,
oh, I know.
Those type of games make them a shit.
I mean, they put so many people into debt, so they'd have to be making a lot of money now with all those people paying it back.
People aren't necessarily paying it back, but they are making mad bank on this. And this is not unusual for mobile games. Mobile games cost very little to produce in the scheme of things for the revenue that they bring in for any and all companies. The main reason Microsoft is buying Blizzard Activision isn't for Call of Duty. It's because it owns King and the likes of Candy Crush and stuff that make mad money. So that's what they're looking at. But yeah, anyway, we can move on from that. Just time to shit on them some more. Who wants to take the lead on this one?
Does anyone remember back when you'd get home from a hard days, I don't know, work, uni, insert whatever thing you want here,
and have a beer?
Yeah.
I don't like beer.
You've just sat down, you've just jumped on Discord with all your friends, and you crack into a game of Overwatch 1 that you paid $60 US to play, and it was a good time. Anyone remember those glory days?
$60 I didn't fucking pay.
No, I don't think anyone did, but that's what the launch price was. But I don't think it was.
I thought it was like 40.
It was like like $40, I think.
It was a cheap launch.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't 60 US, but like the point is that you had to like pay for Overwatch 1, and the whole selling point of paying for Overwatch 1 is that it was discouraging for cheaters to just spin up a bunch of accounts because it would cost them that much each time. And for the brief couple seasons early on window, it was glorious. It was a great game.
It was. And then they tried trying to balance it, make it competitive, and then everyone stopped playing.
Yep. And
just like every other shooter, fun fact.
So I was shocked. So basically the whole point of the point of this story is that Overwatch 2 is doing what some would consider bad moves. And by some I mean
some people have been calling it free-to-play scummy practices, but yeah.
I don't know why you guys I don't know why you guys get angry about it. They're literally giving us a free game. Apparently beggars can be choosers.
Yeah, but they're taking away one I already bought.
Yeah, where Overwatch.
I've played it a year or two ago. I'd still play it again if it was not Blizzard.
True. Overwatch 2 is due to launch next week, I think, or
October 4th,
very soon. In anyway, in either case, but they're taking out they're taking out all the services, I think, for Overwatch 1 and the launcher, right?
They are.
They're pulling
Overwatch
all of it straight
1
into 2.
will go down on October 2, and Overwatch 2 will launch on October 4th.
So 2 days of utopia.
Yeah, it'll be patched on everything will be patched and everything on the 3rd, and then the next time you launch into Overwatch, it will be Overwatch 2. And if you bought the Overwatch 1, you will have the Overwatch 1 heroes unlocked. If you have not, then you will not, and you will have to buy them via the free-to-play practices. So that's
no,
$40
you don't.
watch
I don't
point
think
pack.
you buy them. I don't think you buy them. You unlock them through gameplay.
Yeah, but you buy them with their points equivalents or whatever. So.
Oh, okay, because the way I read it is that after 100 matches, you'll have the entire original Overwatch roster unlocked.
Oh, okay. If that's the way they're approaching it, then that's
it's
okay.
It's vague in how it
also,
says that. It says buy after you played 100 games. You should have them I'm not sure if that's because after like for every 10 games you play, you unlock a character, or are you supposed to get currency to buy those characters, and then you might not spend it properly. Like it's fucking vague on it, and we won't know until it's too late.
But if I have to carry Steve through all 100 games, like I'm sure I would have to do, would he be able to get all of the Overwatch characters?
Team-based game, maybe. You're only as strong as the weakest player, which is me. Thank you for the carry. Remember to see a chiropractor about your back.
Oh no, it wasn't me carrying it. I handed it to the All Blacks.
Piece of shit. How fucking dare you?
It's also not releasing with the PvE story mode, which was the entire purpose of apparently what's making Overwatch 2 different. So the fact that it's not launching that is the dumbest fucking
Remember,
shit.
there was the other big change where they decided that 5-on-5...
5v5. Yeah, they just took out a character because no one could find matchmaking.
Yeah. I don't remember if base game was 6v6 or 5v5 anymore because it's
6v6.
Yeah, okay, it was 6v6. I thought so. Where they decided, you know what, matchmaking with 12 people is so much harder than matchmaking with 10. 5v5.
Yeah. I also wanted to quickly chime in on like the 100 matches points that we brought up a minute ago. I don't think I've played 100 matches in Overwatch 1 as it is. So if I was one of those Overwatch 2 new players, I would not have the entire roster because I would have just tapped out too early.
The bit that blew my mind was that they talk about how if you have played Overwatch 1, you get automatic access to Overwatch 1's 32 playable heroes. And I couldn't help but think, like, there's no way there's 32 playable heroes in Overwatch 1. Like,
they've added quite a number of
that's the thing, is that I remember playing base, and base was great, base was based, and then I remember when they added the first few, like Ana, I was a big fan, I actually think I even mained Ana for a while, but like Orisa and Doomfist and other sort of bits and pieces that came and went, and then I fell out with it, and I haven't really been back to it much since, played the odd game here and there, and just looking at some of the names, it's like, okay, I have no idea who these people are.
Yeah, so Anna was added, Ash was added, Baptiste was added.
Never heard of those
Bridget.
Two. Bridget was the infamous one.
Yeah. They added Moira, Orisa.
Moira was David Bowie, and that was based.
Yeah, I remember Moira now.
Sombra. Wrecking Ball, and I think
that's right. Yeah, Wrecking Ball. That was the last game I played where Wrecking Ball was just fun because you just got to do your own thing.
I stopped playing when he got added to the game.
Honestly, I only actively remember 4 of them, which was like Bridget, Wrecking Ball, Moira, and Doomfist.
Anyway, jumping back to Overwatch 2 for a sec. It's free to play, so there's basically no reason why we can't play it. Is anyone interested? Because I know that I am not.
No.
I'm interested.
Absolutely
I'm only
not.
interested in trying it. Realistically, like, remember when Halo Infinite came out and I played that until I finished Battle Pass and put it down and never touched it again? Yeah, it won't be like that. I reckon I'll pick it up, play a couple of games, and be like, I should go back to that. And then it was never touched again. Maybe I'll try to get a couple of achievements on it, to be honest.
I have friends that play the first one still occasionally, and they'll drag me into the odd game every like 6 months or something. So I might give it a go. Maybe it will be fun just as a fresh something while I'm waiting for the next Pokemon game, but I doubt it, to be honest. I probably won't play it.
I don't feel like being bullied by myself.
I'll bully you anyway.
You mean like you yourself is the one doing the bullying, or you just mean being by yourself and getting bullied?
Both.
Understandable.
I will bully myself for playing a Blizzard game, and also I will be bullied for playing the game.
Fair enough. Can't wait to watch the couple donkey videos of him being shockingly good at the game and stomping everyone with an off-meta pick.
It's the same game as before. If you're good at Overwatch 1, you're going to be good at Overwatch 2.
It's true.
But you have one less team member to hold you back.
Anyway, moving on from that. Next up on the list, and finally on the list, Atlas is suing fans for reviving its long-dead MMO. Bum, 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 bum.
Just so fucking stupid of Atlas to do. Like, this is just something that fans did in good faith and fun. They're actively not making money off it because its services shut down years ago, and it was just a fan project to let people play a long dead game, and it's like, why hit them with a lawsuit over it?
I want to point out as well that they didn't start with the DNR. They went straight to lawsuit.
That's
pretty hard.
They said in Yeah, like literally the guys that were running the community project said the fact that they skipped this is concerning because if they'd sent one, we would have just shut it down.
Yeah,
Like,
no, most
that's-
projects, if they get a cease and desist, they instantly shut that down because they don't want to deal with the legal issues.
Yeah, so the fact that they just skipped that and went, no, I'm suing you is very shitty.
Yeah, no, as much as I like Atlas games, Atlas Japan in general has very bad practices and are very infamous for being a pretty shit company.
Look.
Yep.
Okay, so let me first preface this by saying I don't think the lawsuit is the right move from Atlas. But let me also
Wow, that's such a stunning comment from you, Steve.
But let me
Well
also
done.
say maybe like there's a lot of other games out there. Like if it's supposed to, maybe are they playing it because it's fun? Are they trying to like keep it going just for the sake of keeping things going? And like, is it community? Is it like 10 players being like weirdly autistic about this one game, trying to max it out? Like what are we doing here, fellas? Well,
I think it's just
it could be a bit of people generally find it fun and want to give it a try. It could be a preservation thing.
Yeah, I'm sort of in the camp of I don't really give a shit because if you don't have a way for people to enjoy your game, that you can't be upset if people find an alternate way to enjoy it because you're not making or losing money off of the transaction.
yeah. Now that you've said it like that,
Well, that's sort of like I will never go out of my way to advocate for piracy, but I do think it's interesting that when something like Steam came out, where they made it so much easier to obtain games that you had to purchase rather than pirate, that the rates of piracy went down because it's a convenience thing. And I think it's a similar thing here, where if there's no way for you to get something that you want to play, people will find ways of finding a way to play that thing. And I think it's really stupid on the part of the people that own the original IP to be upset at that when they have no alternative.
So the reason why they're doing this is the same as every other IP claim, but the fact that it's not a DNR is what's stupid. So IP law in general states that if you're not actively defending your IP, then you forfeit the right to basically hold it, which is really dumb. So I understand why companies send DNRs and stuff like that, but this is just
too far.
Extra.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
going
fucked.
that extra step too far.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm on the side of video games are art, and art should be preserved, and however that happens to happen is fine by me. Whether that's piracy, whatever. If you're not making money off it, I don't see a problem with it. It's just preservation. So
Yep.
to me that's
Similar boat.
Well, just to drop my 2 cents, my poo in the toilet, if you would. Maybe not all art should be preserved. Maybe.
I will not, actually.
Yeah, but then I guess is it?
There needs to be some sort of middleman that like instead of letting fans handle it, like when a service like this gets shut down, the companies can offshoot it to some preservation company that will keep things running.
You know what? Just grow some balls and open source it.
I was literally just about to say that. I was waiting for an entrance. I was literally just going to be like, just open source it and then say, if you're running this, you're running this under our goodwill. You're not going to violate our IP. You're not adding anything. You're not charging. You're still defending your IP. You're giving a blessing for someone to run their own servers, etc.
Yeah, that also works much better than my idea.
Yeah, literally just open source it, bro. Come on.
That's why I'm the ideas guy.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but you were too late.
So
I know.
I'm 3 hours ahead, Josh. I'll see
Goddamn.
you in court,
No
buddy.
one cares about second
I'll
place.
wait till next week when you're only 2 hours, and then I might have another shot.
Maybe next week is the conversation.
Catch me being one entire Kipchoge marathon pace away from you.
That's such a niche reference. All right.
It is. Shout out to Kipchoge
So-
for breaking the marathon world record this week.
By 2 hours to run 42 kilometers. Fucking hell, fellas. He's a wee bit of a fast one, ain't he? Man, that was a shitty accent.
Can we get away from sports,
It's
please?
literally running. You know how like when you get up in the morning, you put one foot in front of the other to go to the bathroom? It's like that, just for 2 hours and for 40 kilometers.
No.
For 40
My morning
kilometers.
routine is waking up, shitting, then getting out of bed.
Yeah, I know. Amber Heard joke.
The
Good
old
one.
Amber Heard,
good
huh?
one.
I was a lot of ever heard, yeah.
Waking up, shitting, getting out of bed. That's always funny.
Anyway, that brings us to the end of news for this week. No audience questions, so we will skip
I think
over
we do
that
have an audience
part.
question if you want to recheck our docket. Someone, we got a late entry.
Fair
My
enough.
favorite temperature.
Steve asks,
What is your
what
favorite
is your
temperature?"
favorite
No,
temperature?
it wasn't Steve, it's Mercury. And the funny joke about that, no, it's
Sailor
Mercury,
Mercury.
as in like Mercury's what's in thermostats.
Oh, like Mercs,
I
like
thought Mercury was a planet.
PMCs,
I don't know what a PMC is. Let me guess.
paramilitary corporation.
Postmodern
Too late.
crap.
Capitalism.
That's a string of words.
Postmodern capitalism. That's Steven's guess.
So, what is your favorite temperature, Steve?
Player movable character.
Mine's probably around
He
the-
literally asked me.
No. You're too late. I'm going to jump in.
Who asked,
You did.
really?
Me. You asked me.
Mercury asked.
Hey, Mercury asked. Our loyal fan, Mercury. The planet.
Okay, Steven, you take it from the
I
top.
don't care.
Then.
You should go first, man. You started.
All right, my favorite temperature is around the 18 to 24 degrees Celsius
Fucking big
range.
It's a fucking wide range.
Anything from 0 degrees to about 100. Yeah, no, it's
it-
fine. I am water.
Seth,
Anything in livable range,
Seth,
you know.
we should be clear. This isn't your like dating pool range. This is like your favorite temperature range.
Listen, they're
Okay.
still legal.
Cut it.
God,
You're
don't
out.
say
You're
that.
out. Cut me out.
Don't retort with that line of all the fucking lines you could have chosen. Holy shit.
The core temperature of a human body is 36.1
Okay, that's
degrees
equally
to
as weird,
37.2
Josh.
degrees. Oh, that's not my favorite temperature. My favorite temperature is ice cold. All right.
That's cooler than me.
No, it's 21
I'm saying I'm
degrees.
about like 23 degrees.
I like 21 because it's like I can wear a jumper if I want to,
that's
or I
9
can
plus-
not. It's okay. 23 is like if you're in the sun, it's like
You know what?
You get a
That's a
little
really
bit
good
warm.
callback to that meme from 2012 about what's 9 plus 10. 21. You're
21.
stupid.
What's yours, Patrick?
Well, because I studied physics for 5 years, my favorite temperature, just conceptually, is absolute zero.
Like Kelvin or Fahrenheit or Celsius? Yep, that's
Absolute
it's all,
zero.
it's
It
all
would be
three of them.
0
That's
Kelvin.
the joke. I get it.
Well, it's
Isn't
not
it?
actually.
It's not. Yeah. No.
Zero.
I'm pretty sure 0
Wow, and that
Celsius
brings
is
us
like
to the end of another episode
31.5
of Fast Travel
Fahrenheit.
Lounge.
It is, and absolute zero is 0 Kelvin or negative 273 point something Celsius, 0.1 odd Celsius. No idea what it is in Fahrenheit because no one uses imperial units.
3.
I don't care. Fight me.
America.
But yeah, that's it's cool. Had some friends that studied what happens when you try and approach that temperature with.
It is cool. It's absolutely cool.
That's
God,
what
you
I'm
just
saying.
remind me. I fucking love that Tumblr picture of you guys. You guys use Celsius, and it's like everyone's just quoting that with like pictures of the world map of every other country's using Celsius or
Using
Kelvin.
Celsius,
Yeah, it's just the US that uses Fahrenheit.
There was a similar
dumb.
one of those of it was like I was a bartender and I served alcohol to this like 19-year-old and they paid me blah blah blah. I don't actually remember what the point of the story was, but someone jumps on. They're like, "Hey, isn't it illegal to serve alcohol to someone under 21?" They're like, "I'm part of the rare group of humans that don't exist in America."
Yeah. There's like a tag group on Facebook that someone added me to a while ago where it was just like Americans that's still doing American things, whatever, and people just like tag it constantly and post to just assume everyone's American.
Yeah.
It's really good. So fucking many good ones.
Or the World Series where it's just a picture of Earth but only the United States.
Or bands going on a world tour and it's just all of the
Yeah,
United
yeah.
States and Canada.
But yeah, hopefully Mercury, Steve, figures that out and doesn't do anything.
You're right there. That was a pretty rough cough.
Yeah, it was. I got some. I think it was some bullshit stuck in my throat. I think. Hopefully, we can clear that out.
Isn't it weird that we got two science temperatures? I was like 36.1 degrees for like the core of a human body, and you were like absolute zero.
Right, but I think
That's not normal
I
reactions.
think conceptually, it's better to have a favorite of like here's this like very interesting, very niche like temperature that's hard for science to achieve and study, and yours is just I like bodies when they are warm.
It's just the number I remember.
Anyway,
Isn't Warm Bodies the name of a series?
It is. Anyway, goodbye, everybody.
and what do you want?
You're not the one that says goodbye.
What do you want with that info, Seth?
I don't know. It's just like you said that in a very weird way that was just triggered in my head. Like, Warm Bodies is a show, right?
You said it, big fella. You said it.
No. When Patrick said that Josh, when he did his quote of Josh liking Warm Bodies,
we're really gonna just butcher trying to quote. We're really trying to quote retweet other people, other co-hosts, huh? That's the level we're at.
from like 2 seconds ago as well.
Get ratioed.
I'd like to get off now.
We've been trying to for 5 minutes.
Hey, we need to answer Mercury's question. Shout out to Mercury.
We did.
Thank you for listening.
Okay, we did. Mercury, just fucking take your answers, do whatever weird thing you're gonna do with your favorite temperatures, and move on. And don't feed it back to us if you get caught.
The temperature of the sun is 5,778 degrees
mad.
Kelvin.
My
and that's my
favorite
favorite
part was
temperature, because
asking.
otherwise we would have no temperatures. Yeah. No, that's my favorite temperature now, because now otherwise we would have no other temperatures. All right, let's move on.
You're not the one that gets to decide that.
Well, I gotta give the speech, but it feels awful to say now because I really did not like how this went. But if you or someone else that has a question you'd like us to answer, get in touch. We're on Facebook at Fast Travel Lounge, Twitter at Fast Travel Lounge -1 of the L's, or on Gmail, fasttravellounge@gmail.com. Please give us a like on your favorite podcast platform and review or comment if you can. All interactions help boost our voices within the algorithm and bring us one step closer to being the preferred gaming and pop culture news podcast sponsored by Krispy Kreme, Ford Truck, Mod September, and whatever other. Samsung Smart Fridge didn't really touch that one as much. This one, and someone else threw one in. Was it iOS?
My Apple
Your
Watch.
Apple Watch,
I got
Josh's
this week.
specific Apple Watch. Shout out to Josh's specific Apple Watch. Thank you for the sponsorship. That does bring us to the end of episode 43. Anything that we want to touch on for next episode?
Panthers been in the grand final, baby.
I will
We've
give
got
you
it.
the temperature of the moon.
That's all that matters.
Eels will win, and I will give you the temperature of the moon as a celebration.
Give me the temperature of
Is it
a
zero?
loser. It's a Parramatta eel.
Nope. No, the temperature of the moon is anywhere. No, I'm not going to say it. I'll see you
Stay
next
tuned.
week.
What a cliffhanger.
That's the dumbest cliffhanger I've ever heard. But
I might finish Saints Row this weekend.
thanks. I think.
You asked what each of us are doing,
What
and
are you-
everyone else said.
What are you
I
up to,
needed
Pat?
put
What are
my
you up to?
input.
What's going on in New Zealand? What's going on 3 hours ahead of us?
You know what?
He's playing Saints Column.
You'll find. Fuck you. You'll find out next. In the next episode, I've been Patrick. I've been joined by somehow Seth, Steve, and Josh for yet another episode. So thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye, September. Hello, Inktober.